Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. True alphas impose their will. True alphas impose their will. I'm going to tell you what, and I'm not going to call the names of the commenters, but I've seen a couple comments on some recent videos where people would talk about, some of these negative folks out here and that, these negative players, guys who would get the women, and they feel, one thing, especially with non-select men, a lot of them feel like that they're superior to the select men in some way or another. And that's a deeper level thing about that. They'll feel like, oh, I'm more intelligent, or I'm making more money. I'm making more money than these guys. Of course, they ignore the intelligent and select guys too, but we won't get into that. And that's a normal thing, and they'll say, we're the true alphas and stuff. It's always something like that, or we're the real men. Like in my book, Nice Guys and Players, I talk about the real man level, and some guys will think they at that real man level. You're nowhere near it. Understand something. And I'm gonna use I don't usually use the word alpha except as a reference, but I'll use it because people understand it. A true alpha imposes his will on his environment. He's the dominant one. So if because like one of the comments I saw, they was like, well, these other guys need to move aside for us. Okay, you gonna move them? Seriously, they not gonna move aside. If you feel like all these guys who getting the sex or getting the attention from the women are just going to move aside for you, they are not. You going to push them to the side? Because when I see stuff like that shit is weak. These dudes ain't going to move to the side. Shoot, they getting theirs. Shoot, if you got some man out here, you can call them bad, you can call them evil, you can call them crazy, you can call the women crazy for it, but the men going to stay in there. If the men go and get women, if the men look at the women and say, look, you wear some tattoos on small of your back, you wear tight clothes like this. If they dominate them, because see, that's one thing. One thing about the select, the women will bend to their will. And if you feel like they not all, they bad people, well, the women going to bend to them. What the fuck you going to do about it? So if you are an alpha, if you think you're an alpha, all right, you ain't going to wait for the guys to move out of the way on their own or the women to bend over. You going to impose it. In fact, hold up. Let me be clear on something. Then be clear, because I see too many men out here complaining about the women, talking about why these women need to do this, they need to do that. And then they'll talk trash about the guys that these women do bend for. Okay, fine. What the fuck you gonna do about it? Like they won't confront these guys. People complaining about some Pookie Arrego or Chad Tyrone, get in their fucking face. If you're a true alpha, you get in their face. You get in their face. You compete with them. And if it come to blows, you ready for that too. But complaining about the women, oh, you should choose me. Why should they? Because let's be real. Men are the stronger sex. And despite all the moves women making, and yeah, they moving up and everything, but the only men they going to dominate are lesser men. The truly dominant ones are still dominant. But if you feel like you should be the dominant ones and not them, okay, what you going to do about it? What you going to make yourself? I want you to think about what I'm saying. Because, you're getting tired of that. Somebody talking about their alpha. I was like, okay, you got your own business? I'm serious, too. Because that's why I don't use that term alpha. How you an alpha, but you work for somebody? Seriously. You don't have control over your life. Other men do not bend to your will or support you. A true alpha is a leader. So if you all are there, you're not just going to lead. And when you lead, it's not necessarily you forcing people, but you're going to carry yourself in another way where people, they're going to cooperate with you, especially women. And sometimes I'm going to tell you what, like the term alpha male comes from the animal kingdom. Alphas are challenged in the animal kingdom. They are challenged constantly. But if you sitting back, somebody want to sit on the internet or complain and stuff and say they shouldn't, no. An alpha does something about it. An alpha imposes their will on themselves and their environment. Even when they deal with women, they'll look at a woman and say, look, you don't have to suck my dick or anything. You don't have to do none of that. But you will be respectful in my presence and will look them dead in the eye. Or not even say anything, but just carry themselves in such a way where a woman will take one look at them and say, you know what, I ain't messing with him. Nah, I'm going to be quiet around him. Because that alpha imposed his will. And yeah, I'm getting a little hotter for this because I'm tired of seeing men sitting around not doing anything. Now, I told you about an incident where I was doing a car video and I was talking about this situation where I had to save a man's daughter. He looking at me to save his daughter in a bad situation she was in. That's not an alpha move. If you got guys out here saying, well, we're the dominant ones. No, you're not. Show it. Show it. Are people holding you to be dominated? Are they putting you up there? Or if at best what you're doing, getting a bunch of like lesser men to follow you, but you still lesser to others? No, that's unacceptable. If you got a problem with a group, what you gonna do about it? Like, let's be real. You get a lot of people talking about Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray. That's in the black community. Other communities might use another term for those type of guys. Whatever the case, you got a problem with them. You getting in their face. You asserting your will so that you're seen as dominant. No, because that's the nature of women, period. They want the most dominant genes. They want the genes that's going to survive. That's just their nature. They can't help it. Shoot. That's why they go for certain types of men. Or you got some people complaining about Chad and Tyrone. Okay, you can do all these videos and measure jawlines and all of that. What's that going to do for you? What's that going to do for you? Like I said in a podcast last week, people don't give a shit about that weak-ass attitude. They really don't. So if you're going to be an alpha, is there like, look, you either be dominant or dominated. If you're a true alpha, you ain't going to sit around having discussions about what other people should do. You just going to do the damn thing and make people submit to your will, or at least respect you. Ain't no ifs, ands, and buts. Seriously, if you want to use that term, whether it's alpha, dominant man, select, whatever, the thing that makes it is like you impose it. Don't write and talk about what should happen. Should don't work in this world. You have to do or don't do. I want y'all to think on what I'm saying. So if you're an alpha, or if you think yourself an alpha, you don't have to tell me. You just go out there and impose your will on the environment, on your environment. All right? Think on what I'm saying.